having various roles in Nordea. I'm with Nordea a very, very long time, actually 17 years, so probably some of you in here do not even work that long. That's a sign of times. But okay, so I'm playing various roles in Nordea. At the moment, actually I'm having two caps. On one hand, I'm working very closely within banking IT. This is the retail operation of Nordea, and I'm working in the IT there, in the management team. And then on the other end, I'm also coordinating and running a little bit Poland, because as you will see in a moment, we have quite substantial plans to grow there. So those two roles. Today, what I want to tell you about, it says transformation, but in fact it's something. It will be a little bit about transformation, but it will be much more about cultural differences in the view of transformation and how those can influence this process. Of course, my observation is limited. It's limited to Poland and Nordic countries. So we are mostly observing how does this work in between Poland, Denmark, Sweden, Finland, and Norway. A little bit with Baltics too. Though it's interesting because, as you will see, we have this tendency to assume that countries that have geographical proximity, like those have, the culture is very much similar, whereas it's not. It's much more obvious when we talk about India or other countries that are much more far away. But when it comes to those that are close, we believe that they are very much the same, and they are not. And we have some interesting observations, and I hope at least, that for the Polish part of the audience, it will be kind of an insight maybe, if you are even dealing with other cultures, maybe some hints how to deal with that. Okay. But I need to start, 3 slides about Nordea, because some of you might know, some of you maybe not, but Nordea used to have a banking operation in Poland a long time ago. Not that long time. In 2013, the operation was divested. And since some of the people believe that we went either bankrupt or actually we are not there anymore, and some are really surprised that we are still on the market. So I urge to tell you that we are. We are a rather large company. We are operating mostly in Scandinavia, a little bit in Russia, and a little bit in Baltics. But less and less in those last two. Home market is Scandinavia, and this is where we are. We have rather substantial income, I would say. It's 2.5 billion euro of income every year. We have 10 million customers out of it. On top of that, we have 700,000 customers that are corporate. So it's a large company, well settled, very much Nordic in its sense, culture, way of running things. We are driven by a set of values. They are pretty new. We had another set, but this was very much similar. These values are reflecting our way of acting from now on. We want to be much more agile. Therefore, and then we'll be speaking about that in a moment, if you will find in yourself the willingness to apply for a job in Nordea, and you are courageous, you are ready to take ownership, you are passionate about what you do, and you are ready for collaboration, welcome. And that's important because, and I'm not sure when Maciej is there. I would like to say sorry to Maciej that Dansk is not on the picture. It should be there, or rather, we should place Tri-City. But we are already present in Poland, and we are quite seriously present in Poland, which is our operation center, back office center, and it's like roughly 1,000 people already. But this is purely back office. When it comes to IT, we are present in Gdynia and Dansk. Actually, it's one. It's Tri-City. It's one Nordea, and then we'll be opening a new site in Warsaw soon, because we have quite ambitious plans to grow. As you can see, nowadays we are 700 people in Tri-City. I'm speaking only IT. We are planning to be next to 1,800 very, very soon, and the rest will go to Warsaw. So the plans are very ambitious. We are planning to grow. We are planning to move things from Nordics, and we are not planning to become second India. by far not. This will be an equal side to what's happening in Nordics, and in some cases we'll be even running it from here rather from Nordics. So all positions will open. Not just we'll not be looking only for developers. We'll be looking also for managers and rather high level managers. We do all of that. I mean, that's not rocket science. I don't think this is anything that would surprise you. But it's not a service center, and I want to stress it. We'll not be working as a service center. The plan is to make these sites work as we call it, fifth country. So there will be no difference whenever you are a Polish person or you are a Finn or a Dane. You will be like working like one teams under the same projects. No, not so that Poland will be handling maintenance and legacy and all the tasks that normally are being pushed out. And all the new fancy stuff will be staying in Nordics. That's not how it will be. Okay, so intro is over. Now you know a little bit more about Nordea. We are pretty large. I will be focusing in here, and I need to make that disclaimer, on we have many IT business areas. I'll be focusing on one. This one is called banking IT, and banking IT mainly refers to what we normally call retail banking. But as you could see, retail banking in Nordea is like 10 million customers, so it's not that small. It's a rather large organization that was divided and built based on what we were calling domains. And the problem we have had was that, in fact, each of these domains was very much running on its own kingdom, with everything. I mean, not only development, but project management, analysis, and of course, everyone was having its own standard. Which was also interesting is that whenever you wanted to look for a standard that was just on the market, you would go to Nordea, certainly someone was using it. So at some point we have reached the point, we have decided that that's not the way we want to run it, and we have decided to transform it. And again, one more disclaimer, the pictures I'm gonna show you in a while, I mean, they are not showing the new organization because not everyone from Nordea even knows it yet, but it looks very, very similar. So the main objectives of making this change happen were pretty obvious, though sometimes the simplest thing is the best thing to do. So we wanted to reinforce the business relationship. We wanted to introduce new ways of working. That was pretty hard in this pretty siloed structure that we have had. So moving more to agile, safe, but only when it makes sense. So we are not agile and safe fanatic, I would say. We make it when it makes sense, and we think it makes a lot of sense in many areas, but there are some implementations or some parts of the bank where actually we will be continuing doing it, say, the old way, because it's simply more efficient. So we want to stay pragmatic. And then the last but not least, the uplift of IT capabilities. This is what I said. We want people doing the same. I mean, staying in the same area. We want them to basically follow the same kind of standard structures and exchange ideas in between. So, and then all of that is intro. I need to warn you. So the structure is not rocket science. As you can see, the structure is divided by those capabilities. So we have and it will be very, very similar in the target picture for Nordea. That's one of the units. Actually, this is the Polish unit, because Polish unit was somehow designed or organized that way well before Nordea came to the conclusion that, that we need to organize ourselves that way. So this will be looking very much the same. So you have like the capabilities, like execution leaders, and then things like architecture analysis, etc., etc. I mean, it's not so important for the discussion. And then we have delivery streams coming across. In the big Nordea picture, in the big Nordea picture, we have decided that there will be a clear differentiation in between. Is that the, yeah, pointer. In between the roles of those managers who will be typically line managers. So they will be managing people, and those people down there, or in here, who will be more focusing on the delivery. And this is a change to people, because the scope of responsibilities of those two group of managers is different. And to some that are a little bit more younger, maybe it doesn't make such a difference. But for those who are used to the old structures, where your power was defined by the fact you are having a number of employees reporting to you, that's a very, very big change. And we have, as it's listed in here, we have decided so that the line manager is there. First, he has to have the competence. So if the one is running, say, software architecture or enterprise architecture, the one needs to be an enterprise architect with, unfortunately, skills to manage people, which is not so easy to find. But we want this person to be, it's not a people manager like it used to be, but it's a combination of a people manager with particular skills in the area, which is not so easy to find as we have noticed after a while. But people are like that are there, but they are scarce. And on the other hand, we have those execution leaders, so we have people who will be responsible for making it happen. So they will be interacting directly with the business, will be building delivery streams for them, and they will be working together. And this change, I mean, when we were doing that, and we are doing it a little bit before also, I mean, in the context of the cultural differences starts to be very, very interesting. Because different nations, I would say, are buying into it in a very different way. Some easier, some not so well. There was a guy who is called Nordtft. He's Dutch. He is a former IBMer. And when he was part of IBM, actually he launched kind of a research within IBM to trying to find the connection in between the nationality and the way the nation is and the cultural organization those nations are creating. You will get a web page, so everything you will see on the next slide, you can go and test yourself. I think it's really good fun. If you are working with some people who are not Polish or whatever, coming from another nationality, also it's worth looking at how Poles are. I think it's very, very true. Of course, you need to remember that everything I will be talking about is a kind of a generalization. So if someone will now stand up and say, no, I'm not like that, it's fine. Probably you're not. But I mean, it's worth knowing that in majority we are like that. And I would say my experience in managing people, and I have some, I mean, I would say confirms that in mass. I mean, of course, there are individuals who are acting differently. So social psychologists who made this research, we will go to that slide, and then that's the picture I will stay on. I have selected I have selected Poland, Denmark, and Finland because these are the countries we are working the most, and these are giving us the most of the kind of experience and real life cases. So what he did, Mr. Gert, he has excuse me. He has made the analysis based on those, you could say, dimensions. And just, I will take you through those dimensions and our experience with that, one by one. So first is the power distance. And power distance is basically about hierarchy. So how much those nations are attached to the fact that when someone is placed in particular place in the hierarchy, it means that the one has certain power. And as you can see, the Polish part, Polish nation is very hierarchical. If you go to most of the Polish companies that are typical Polish, you will see this hierarchy being very strong, which of course is creating some challenges taking into account the previous change. So everyone wants to have its own piece. If you talk to the people how they perceive their career, very rarely they see it through development of technical skills. And by the way, it's also reflected in usually in our salary scales. The kind of making progress and being proud, the thing that you can tell to your neighbors and friends outside is that when you take a managerial position, This is what counts for many. That's not so much, or I would say at all, for the Danish, and a little bit less to Finnish. But it also have an implication on how we work in these agile teams. Because, for example, what I have observed, and that's my observation from several cases, is that Polish people, they rather use the hierarchy to escalate than just go and talk with the person. If I'm having someone coming who is doing something that I don't like, it's pretty much normal in the Nordic culture. You just go and tell the person that you don't like it. That's not an issue. The one will not get upset. When it comes to Poland, I mean, usually, and not once, I'm being approached by the people whom I have nothing to do, but just because I'm perceived as a manager in Poland, to actually act on their behalf with their manager in Nordic and to arrange something because they are not happy. I say, well, I mean, have you talked? That's my first, I mean, have you? No, of course not. I say, but I mean, you just go and tell him that something is wrong. No, but you know, it's like, no, but he might get upset with it. I said, but no, he will not. Just go and speak. And this is creating some kind of issues in between, because the other nation is used to openness. If you don't say anything, it means the problem doesn't exist. Everything is fine. They also, there is also this kind of, we are waiting in Poland, or many people are waiting for orders. So there's an expectation, the order will come. Whereas the other nations are very much self-driven. And in Denmark especially, that's horrible. I mean, if you are a newly employed person and you come to the job, no one cares about you, honestly. I mean, you are there, I mean, you're on your own, you just need to find out. Which in Poland is like, what? I mean, we are expecting onboarding process so that people are, I mean, informed where to go, whom to ask, whom to speak to. In here, they're like, and then that's it. And I was surprised by it, because I don't think, by the way, that is very efficient. And I'm not so sure whenever we should follow that practice, but we shouldn't be surprised that this is how it's happening there. And they are not surprised, and they want to act that way. Then the next one is this individualism. And we have individualism. You could say, oh, it's not that bad. We are pretty close to the rest. I mean, so should be fine. But the problem is that this individualism, combined with high need for hierarchy that we have, is putting us in a very interesting kind of place. Because we are the people who, on the one hand, we are expecting hierarchy to react. So when things are not going, we are expecting manager to act. But at the same time, we are expecting they will come to us and listen to what we have to say, and then take it into account. So on one hand, we are not trying to make things happen on our own, but at the same time, we are expecting that we will be asked for opinion, and this opinion will be respected because we are individuals, of course. So whereas the other nations, they don't know what's the problem. I mean, if you are there on your own, just help yourself. If you have a problem, speak. I mean, and come to us and tell me, and then we are going to try to tackle it. And it doesn't matter, it's really, really high in the structure. I mean, come and tell him. So this is something we need to learn. I mean, we need to be aware of that, and we need to learn, because otherwise we are being perceived as strange people, honestly. Oh, you know, they don't speak, no one knows what they want. And this is very funny. I mean, this is on one hand funny, and I must say that to some extent I'm annoyed with that in Poland. Because not once when I'm making a presentation on the change, they say, okay, so we would like, so when you organize the meeting, so we are consulted. I say, well, I'm not intending to consult with you, I'm going to tell you what we are going to do. But it's like, because if you want to participate, you are invited, come and join us, but then take responsibility, because then it's not so comfortable. Because when you join, instead of giving opinions, you take responsibility for what's going to happen. And if you are taking responsibility, there is a risk of failure. Not nice. So not everyone likes that. So being aware of this. Then masculinity, that's my favorite one. Okay, well, so that we understand it right. They are nations who are very much driven by the achievement, being the best in breed, I mean, successes, etc. This is us. And then there are nations who are more on the feminine side, as is being defined by Gerd. And the feminine side is more like, okay, we are together. We are achieving something together. We are coaching each other. And then it's fine. I mean, generally the thing is to have fun together. I mean, it's more on that side. That was extremely visible when I was once participating in training on cultural differences in Nordics, when I must say, I was deeply persuaded I know everything about them, like being 12 years in Nordea, more or less. And we have been asked by the person who was running it to take a card, select several pictures that would depict the good manager. And that was an extremely interesting exercise, because all the Polish managers selected a general in front of the troops. Or there was also a ship, and there was a storm, and there was a ship on the storm line, and the captain on top. That way. And then we went to check this time there was a Swedish guy that was really extreme. And the Swedish guy have selected a cow with a calf on a green meadow. And we were like, what? But I mean, that illustrates perfectly the difference. And it also illustrates perfectly how very often I'm catching myself when I'm like looking at them, say, what? I mean, why should we discuss it? I mean, we just tell them, I mean, just do that. I mean, we know how to do it, we leaders. No, we need to discuss. We need to get everyone on board. I'm having an example from yesterday. We are, as part of this transformation, since I'm to take a rather substantial role there, we were designing one large part of the organization. And to run it, we have met 12 people. We're sitting for like 7 hours. We first have prepared the epics, that everyone was preparing the epics, and then we were like prioritizing them. And I can tell you, the result we have reached after 6 hours, I could write it down at the beginning of the meeting. It's not rocket science. You know what to do. I mean, if you are managing organization, you have like created few of them. I mean, in your life, you know what to do. You know how to manage all that stuff. But no, because that way, everyone is committed. And we just need to wait and go through it. It's painful to Polish people. It is. But I mean, that's the way, because, well, we are not yet, it's not us taking them over, it's rather the other way around. So we need to, I mean, take a big breath, long breath, and then wait, and then they will reach that. But I mean, on the other hand, it's also nice because all those people are onboarded. It's no issue. And in our case, I mean, if I would come and say, probably majority would follow me because I'm coming from the top, so I'm saying that now you need to do that, so they would do that. But would they be convinced? I don't know. Some of them maybe, but probably not all. So this is a way. It's a longer way, but that works with them pretty well. Yes. And then the last two. Long-term orientation, we are similar. And I was always wondering, whenever coming from the past or from, I have 2 minutes to go before, so that you can ask questions. I was always wondering, I think that it's coming a lot from history. I mean, this kind of long-term orientation. Like if you think of Danes, Finns who didn't have their country for like many years, and then they are not in NATO, and they have Russia around, and it's not. They are really not feeling very safe. So they are very much attached to tradition, history, and all that stuff. So that they need to keep they kind of roots. Thank you for the word. And then the same is probably with Polish people, Danes. I don't know, but we are on the same side, so that's not that interesting. The indulgence instead is very interesting, because we are, again, the indulgence is about having fun of life, more or less. So we are unfortunately on the left-hand side, which is called restraint organizations, and we have restraint nations and then indulgent nations. So the restraint nations, as Poles are, we are pessimists, basically. I mean, nothing will go right. And then we perceive the world and people outside world as kind of a threat. So people will come and harm us, I mean, that way or another, and they certainly want to cheat us, I mean, that's for sure. I mean, if we don't take the measures, I'm sure that they're gonna cheat us. While on the other hand, you have those nations that are like cozy. They want the quality of the life. This is what counts, not the whenever you work hard. I mean, we are more like we like to think of ourselves we are working hard, whereas they like to think about themselves. I mean, the successful guy is the one who can actually enjoy the life. So that's something that also is to be kept in mind, because in the professional environment, as you see, it also has an impact. Like I was discussing with someone before, and then we were discussing whenever we can meet in July. July is holiday time. I mean, come on. Scandinavia goes on holidays. It's closed. 6 weeks. There's no one. That's it. I mean, it's done. So what the heck? I mean, we are going to rest. I mean, it's sunshine. I mean, there's not so much sun they have, especially in Finland. So I mean, it's summer. They go on holidays. They don't even understand. If it's a day off, it's a day off. Yes, I know. I'm moving. And I wanted to show you that picture. I took it 3 days ago. Łużycka is these are our Gdynia premises. In one of the buildings, I have noticed an advert like that. And I was like, I started to wonder, because I said, well, okay, apparently someone saw that there is a business in teaching people Polish, and it means that most probably the population of people who are not Polish who is there is pretty large, because apparently there is a business case for that. So to me, it was kind of a sign, like, okay, I mean, probably these cultural differences will start counting more and more. Because from now on, it's not only that we go somewhere and we need to be careful about what we do and what we say and how we are being perceived and seen, but it's also in our home country it starts. And it's true that if you go to the canteen at Łużycka, most probably you will hear Ukrainian, Russian. So nowadays also, I mean, we have quite many Indians. So all of that, it's worth knowing and worth remembering, even though we don't go anywhere, and even if we are just a Polish company. Highlights, and I'm finishing.
What about the questions?
Yeah. You want to have the questions? I mean, I can skip the highlights. You can read them.
Great.
It's no problem.
So the first one. Key measures to verify your transformation objectives.
We are, for the transformation, this transformation, it depends in what context, but the transformation related to the organizational change as such, this is something that we are expecting to have the result by 2020. So that's because, I mean, you should know that we are talking about an organization of people amounting to over 2,000 people, and it's not like when I'm saying results, I mean like fully fledged working and delivering on the delivering the value. But of course, it's not so that we will be waiting till that time. When it comes to the Poland part, it's also 2020. So it's like it's a longer plan.
What about training for the cultural differences?
Yes, we do have actually, and when we are having meetings with we're organizing kind of integration parties, for example. That's a very common topic because it's a little bit lighter, so it's not that heavy, and people like to listen to that. But my suggestion would be, of course, you can attend many cultural trainings. That's good. You can read about that. That's also good. But keep eyes open when you are meeting other cultures. Don't get upset by their behavior when you see it, because maybe it's not offending. I mean, things that you perceive to be offending are not offending at all. I mean, what prevents us from asking? Just show curiosity. And usually when you are meeting people for the first time and you show curiosity about their country, about their culture, about the nation, the place they come from, they will tell you everything. And also that was also my experience, be careful in when you have people from other cultures joining a group where you are in majority as Polish people, and be attentive so that they feel well and that they understand well what's happening. I could share a few examples that were very funny. But I was like looking at the guy.
Thank you for the questions. Applause for Monika.
Thank you.